asymmetric darts, but this time we're going to be a little bit more fancy and introduce another technique that's good for you to know. So for this asymmetric dart, it's not just going to be different from one side to the next, but they're going to cross over from one side to the other. So here we have, again, we'll get exactly the same fit as we always have with this block. But if we say this is where our bus points are, I'm saying we're going to have one dart that's going to swing down across like so, and one dart that's going to go like that. So they're going to cross over the centre front to form a star line. This dart is particularly interesting if you're using a stripy fabric, because the stripes change direction as they go up through. Okay, so as we did with the last asymmetric dart, we're going to do this by the slashing method. We are going to trace around, marking all the darts as we go. We've got the shoulder dart in, bust point, and then across here. I've put the waist dart in, and I'm just making sure I've got the centre front marked, because now I'm going to flip and I'm going to line up the upside down block with the neckline and with the hemline. Nearly done. Draw those darts in. Now, one of the things we're going to talk about when we're doing this particular asymmetric combination is the idea of a temporary dart. That is a dart that you're going to put in that's not going to be there at the end of the process, but it's a dart that will help you to achieve a nice smooth line in the simplest and cleanest way possible. So if we look at this, and we know that we're going to want, from the little drawing, that we're going to want a dart that comes down from the left armhole, or the right armhole, sorry, down to the left bust. And to achieve that, I would need to cut through this dart, and that's going to be messy. Also, for this dart, we're going to have to come down from that bust point and cut through that dart. So it would be much cleaner if those darts went where they are for the moment. So I'm going to, as my first job, get rid of that dart and get rid of that dart. And not do anything fancy with it, I'm just going to put it into the dart that sits immediately above or below. So exactly as you would have done, or in fact exactly as you have done when you've combined these darts, that's what we're doing now. We're going to cut down through both of them to the bust point. And what I want to know is that this one is closed, because that's the one I'm going to be drawing down through. We know from our design that this one isn't going to exist in a minute, but for now it's great that it's just there. It's just there holding the shape for us, if you like. So I'm going to do the same on the other side in terms of the cutting. So I'm going to cut down through the shoulder dart, bust point, and I'm going to cut up from the waist to the bust point. this time I'm going to be closing the dart at the waist and opening the one at the shoulder, because this is the one that I want to have a clear canvas when putting this dart where it needs to go. Okay, so that's us set up with a simple, clean canvas, if you like. So the first thing I'm going to do, or the next thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to draw in the position of the dart that's going to come from the armhole down to the bust point. There you go, no messing. I can just do that straight through. I'm going to put, see what this measurement is here, 11 and a half. And if I did 11 and a half, would that be the same as my drawing? It wouldn't. I'm going to angle that slightly then, so I'm like my drawing, and I'm drawing in that new dart position, which is that dart position. So this, if you like, if you name them 1 and 2, that is dart 1, and this is dart 2. And we've got them in position. Now, even though it's on a sort of a longer scale, you're going to treat these in exactly the same way as you've treated all the other darts. And we're going to close this one. Sorry, we're not going to close it, what we're talking about. I'm going to cut through that one to the bust point. And then I'm going to close this temporary dart to open up this enormous new dart. And the reason it's so enormous is that it's running such a long distance. It's not creating any more or any less shape than the 2 little darts, or 2 smaller darts. Okay, so we've got that one. I'm going to flip this around so I can now cut down through the shoulder or the armhole dart, across the centre front to that bust point, and I am going to take that closed, and I've got my next enormous dart that runs right the way across. Now there's something that crops up on here. We haven't really discussed grain lines yet. We're going to do that in our next session. But we are left with a situation where, whereas normally our grain would run with the centre front, it's not going to on this. We'll attack that momentarily. We now need paper in behind. I'm just going to leave it on this piece of paper, sheet of paper that's on. And we need to stick it down. Combinations that you can do, I mean this is quite a straightforward combination. You can go on and on and on with darts flying in from all sorts of places, because as we've discussed before, darts can come from anywhere on the outside edge of the pattern, as long as they end 1.5 centimetres away from the bust point. So this, even though it's huge, it's going to be exactly the same technique. Find the centre, a line from that centre to the bust point, and back from the bust point by 1.5. Draw a new line that runs from our new end of dart to our new bust point. Now this is way too big a dart to be sewn as a dart, so we're going to lay the centimetre mark on our pattern master along our new dart line, run that through. That's that one done. With this top one we're doing the same, we're finding the centre point on that dart. We're drawing from there to the plus point. We're dropping back by 1.5. Drawing a line from the new outer edge of the dart. Whoops, sorry, I got caught on the sellotape there. To our new outer edge. I need to make sure I know that's not the right line. And the same on the other side without a mistake, I hope. There we go. And the same applies with this. It's way too big to sew that as a dart. So we're going to line up against the correct line and change this into a seam that ends with a small dart. Now I'm going to take my old centre front as being the straight grain, and that does pretty much go straight up. So it's a straight grain at the front, straight grain at the bottom. Oh, that's handy. Didn't realise it was going to be so nicely symmetrical. Okay, this of course no longer exists. Pattern goes to here only. Of course we don't have our other seam allowances on yet, but that would get sewn together as a seam allowance on the centimetre, and the end of it would just be sewn like a dot. Same applies to the one that runs from the armhole. Job done. Nice bit of fancy dart action. I think we'll call that a day.